रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। कम करोति वाचालं पंगुते गिरिंगे कृपातमं वन्दे श्री गुरुतीर्थारणम्। All right, dear devotees, Hare Krishna. Please accept my obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, as we discussed earlier, we will do the chapters like we will first read the translation section by section and discussion. We will start with first chapter. All right, so let me share my screen. 1 second, let me open that. So everyone is doing well?
Yes, Mataji. You have a new guest today?
Prabhu, your voice is echoing, so probably because of 2 lines.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhu, but it is echoing.
Okay, one second.
All right, so let us begin. Chapter 1. 1 second, hold on, devotees. So 1 second, I am... Bhagavati Prabhu, can you share your screen, please? Because I...
Yes, Mataji.
1 second. You share your screen while I am... So first chapter is... So just like, we should try to remember the title of the chapter and the sections that we will discuss. We should try to remember that because because by that we will remember the whole flow of the Bhagavad Gita actually, if we remember the sections and all. Okay, so first chapter is Srila Prabhupada names the chapter Observing the Armies, and in this chapter, the description of like the setting of scene, okay, what is it, where Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, what does it look like? So that is what is given in this chapter. So the first section of this chapter is from verse number 1 to so first section is from 1 to 27, but within that there are subsections. So that is like an introduction. It is described how the battlefield looks like, who is doing what, like that kind of a section. So from 1 to 11, it is preparation for the war. So let us read the first 11 translations of the first chapter, and then we can have a little discussion on that, and then we can move on to the second section. So 1 to 11, it is just preparation for the war. So let us read. Somebody would like to read.
I can read if nobody else is reading.
Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu. Slowly but a little.
Yeah. Chapter 1, Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Text 1.
Oh, Prabhu, one second. So I think we have new guest, Hemang. Hare Krishna, Hemang Pancha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
There is one Hemang also. Hemang, yeah, Hema Mataji. Thank you. Hemang. So I think Prabhu took the Bhagavad Gita from Barsana Chitra Mataji and Janeshwar Prabhu this Sunday, right? Barsana Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. I met him yesterday at our book table.
Yeah.
And he
So, yeah, Hemang Prabhu, you are welcome to our Bhagavad Gita discussion.
I think his wife is joining.
Huh?
I think Mataji is joining, not Prabhu. Prabhu's.
So if possible, I mean, no force or pressure, if possible, for a few minutes, will you be able to turn on your videos? If not, then it's fine too. So you both are very welcome to our group. And fortunately, we are doing the revision, like a little summary of, we completed first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita in our discussion. And from today, we are just doing a little review of first 6 chapters, because Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 sections. First 6 chapters are like Karma Yoga, and then 7 to 12 are Bhakti Yoga, and then 13 to 18 are Jnana Yoga. So we completed the first section, which is first 6 chapters, but now we were just doing a little review. So you joined on the right time, and let us continue. And if you have any question or anything, you can share later. All right. So yes, Bhagavati Prabhu. So in this first chapter, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, first 11 verses are talking about just preparation for the war. And after that, we will continue further. Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
Chapter 1, Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Text 1. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjay, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Sanjay said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhan went to his teacher and spoke the following words. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupad. Text 4. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yugyudhana, Virata, and Drupad. Text 5. There are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashiraj, Purujit, Kunti Bhoj, and Sebya. There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamaja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these great warriors are great chariot fighters. Text 7. But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. Text 8. There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somdatta called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle. Text 9. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science. Text 7. Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. Text 11. All of you must now give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. So that's up till text 11, the first section.
Yeah, so what do we see in these 11 verses? A lot of things actually. So the translations, if we read the purports of Srila Prabhupada, then we will get a lot out of it. But because we already have done all that, so we are doing a summary only. So we will discuss a little bit about what is happening. So first of all, in the first verse, Dharam Kshetre Kurukshetre, that word is used, right? If we look at the Sanskrit of the first verse, it says Dharam Kshetre Kurukshetre. So very, very significant. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes about Dharam Kshetra, because it is a place of a religious place. So what will happen? Whoever is a religious person, they will be benefited there. All others who are not, they will not be. So meaning that this verse, this Dharam Kshetre, the use of the word Dharam Kshetre Kurukshetre, describes that because Pandavas are actually righteous and religious and followers of Dharma, so this place is going to empower them more and more. So that is what is the significance of those two words given. And also Dhritarashtra. What does that Dhritarashtra in Hindi, like, we know the kingdom, right? Rashtra. So Dhritarashtra, it means actually who is holding on to the kingdom or assets or desires, right? So Dhritarashtra, actually, all of us know he is blind physically, but he is not only physically blind, but he is spiritually blind, which is even more dangerous than being physically blind. Because if one is physically blind, we are, deprived of seeing things only in this lifetime. But if we are spiritually blind, if somebody is spiritually blind, then what happens is it is birth after birth, birth after birth, we will keep getting bound in this cycle of birth and death. And then we saw that Duryodhan, he is then Duryodhan starts speaking, and he is sarcastic to his teacher Dronacharya. There is a story, but if I keep telling the story, it will take too long. So he uses the word Drupad Putrena in that verse number 3. Duryodhan is actually using the word for a reason, because there was an enmity between Dronacharya and Drupad, and Dronacharya, even then, he gave the military science training to Drupad, even though there was an enmity between, because a Brahmana does not see anybody who is an enemy or a friend, they see everybody equally. So Duryodhan is actually sarcastically telling Dronacharya, okay, see, you have trained this Drupad, and now he is standing opposite to you, and who has done such a right arrangement. So now he's warning Dronacharya, okay, you did that, but now you fight for properly, completely against the Pandavas. You have a soft corner for Pandavas. Don't be like you were with Drupad, right? And then he is encouraging Dronacharya by saying that there was so many people on their side equal to Bhima and Arjuna. So basically in these verses, Duryodhan, we see his diplomacy. He is a very nice politician, actually. So he actually is playing diplomacy here. So we see in this. And then he was describing the strength on his own side. And then he was speaking about Bhishma Dev and Drona, and he is calculating that whom should I glorify and how should I speak and what should I speak, right? And then he encouraged Drona. He refers to Drona's brother-in-law, Kripacharya, in verse number 8. And then he says, he wants to inspire both Drona and Bhishma Dev, because earlier he didn't mention about Bhishma Dev. So he used the double meaning word, aparyaptam, in 10th verse. So its meaning is immeasurable to Bhishma. He's saying his strength is immeasurable. And also it means insufficient to Dronacharya, so that he can take full responsibility. And then in verse number 11, he is inspiring the whole army, right? And so the practical application for this section, what we can say is that, first of all, we can check what are the desires we are holding on to. What are the attachments? Actually, Dhritarashtra means holding on to attachments. So what are the attachments that we are holding on to? We can make a list and try to work on them one by one. And like how Duryodhan is playing diplomacy, so we may be also doing that, actually. So we can check on our side what we are trying to do in our lives. So that is this first section. And then now 12 to 20 is signs of victory of Pandavas. So in the verse number 12 to 20, we will be seeing the omens, we call omens or auspicious signs, how these verses are telling us that, okay, no matter what, okay, let me tell you one more thing. So there were, Kaurava side, there were 11 Akshohinis, means large army. And on the Pandava side, only 7. So Pandava's army was smaller than Kaurava's army, but still there is going to be the victory of Pandavas. And these verses from 12 to 20 are going to tell us how Pandava's victory is for sure. So let us see that from 12 to 20. Somebody would like to read the translations of 12 to 20.
I can read, Mataji.
Or if somebody wants to add something or some discussion up to verse number 11. First, quickly, if somebody has something to add or say, or just something in that section. If not, then somebody reads. Janeshwar Prabhu, you can read.
Okay, Mataji, thank you. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. 13. After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called the Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater, in the performance of a Herculean task, blew his terrific conch shell called the Pondra. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijaya, and Nakula and Shadeva blew the Sugosha and Manipuspaka. The great archer, the king of Kasi, the great fighter Sikandi, Drisadumna, Virata, and the unconquerable Satyaki, Draupada, and the sons of Draupadi, and the others, O king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrow. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in the military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna these words.
Do you want to say something, Prabhu?
Yeah, the importance here is the conch shells. First of all, when the Pandavas blew their conch shells, the hearts of the Kauravas were shattered. But when the Kauravas blew their conch shell, nothing happened to Arjuna. The Pandavas, they were not afraid. And it's also mentioned that the transcendental conch shells of Krishna and Arjuna, these were transcendental, so that assured the sign, that assured the sign of sign of victory, and also the Hanumanji was on the flag of Arjuna, so that also was a sign of victory.
Yeah, and then conch shell is sign. Conch shell is a symbol of Vishnu, right? So
yes.
In the verse number 12, Bhishma Dev blowing conch shell, he is actually signifying that Vishnu is present. So that means whoever is on the side of Vishnu is going to be victorious. And also in verse number 14, the name of Krishna is Madhava is used, I think, right? 14th verse, Madhava is used. So Madhava is the husband of goddess of fortune.
Yes.
Yeah.
Madhava is
Madhava is used. Yeah. So means the husband of goddess of fortune. So wherever is that husband who is Krishna, he is there. The goddess of fortune will also be there, right? And then and Bhishma Dev's conch shell, like, because we saw in 1 to 11 Duryodhan's diplomacy. So to pacify Duryodhan, okay, Duryodhan, I am going to fight. He just blew the conch shell just for the sake of blowing. So and also in verse number 14, for Krishna and Arjuna's, the name used as transcendental conch shell, and it was not used for Bhishma Dev's conch shell like that, right? And then in verse number 14 also, there was this Agni Dev's chariot. Arjuna's chariot was also special. So those chariots that was given to Arjuna by Agni Dev, it was capable of conquering all directions. Yeah, so all these are actually, and Hanuman, sign of Hanuman on verse number 20. So now very, very beautiful section. So far, anybody has any discussion?
Mataji, I have a question. I think I saw in one of the texts, Arjuna is addressing Krishna as Achyuta. So any reason for that?
It will be in 21, verse 21.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's coming up now. Yeah, there is a reason. So verse number...
I have a question. Arjuna's conch shell, why is it called Panchajanya? I mean,
because because I think Panchajanya, because there is a story behind it that I am not able to recollect. If somebody else remembers, tell. So because he got that conch shell in certain way, like when he was doing, because of his fighting spirit, and somehow he got that conch shell, and its name was Panchajanya.
Thanks, Mataji.
Bring the story if I can somehow recall or hear from somewhere. I'll tell you, or if somebody else knows, please share.
Thanks, Mataji. No, I was just curious. I was like, why is that specific name given to Arjuna?
Was it then when he gave the forest to some demon to eat, he received this conch shell?
I think, I'm not sure. Maybe it's that time or maybe some other time. I'm not sure what he did get at the time of that fire thing. I am not remembering actually. So maybe what Gayatri Mataji you are saying is correct, but I am not 100% sure. So I can try to confirm.
No problem, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Right. So now from verse number 21 to 27, very, very beautiful section. And here Krishna is going to appear first time in the on the scene, and the quality Bhakta Vatsala means a lover of his devotees. That quality of Krishna is described in this section. And actually this section should move our hearts. So basically, because Krishna, who all of us, maybe theoretically at least, we all know that he is the source of everything. Everything comes from him, right? Ishvara, Parma, Krishna, Sat, Chit, Ananda, Vigra, Anadi, Radhir, Govinda, Sarva, Karana means he is the reason for existence of everything, basically. So still what he is doing, he becomes the chariot. Last week also we talked about it a little bit. So he becomes the chariot driver, which is such a menial position, like a driver, right? So who wants to be a driver? Only when somebody needs money, otherwise nobody. But here, what is Krishna going to get? The kicks from Arjuna, right? Okay, Krishna, move here, move there. The kicks he is going to get. And he is the creator of everything. He is even the source of Arjuna. But still he takes because he is Bhakta Vatsala, he is lover of his devotee. For his devotee, he can do anything. And for Pandavas, he became their messenger. He became their guardian means guard, and he becomes their chariot driver. he becomes their servant. He does so many things for Pandavas. Why? Because they are completely dedicated and devoted to him completely, right? So now let's read verse number 21 to 27. Somebody wants to read the translations?
Can I read, Mataji?
Sure.
Okay, text 21 and 22. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. 23. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. In the presence of Bhisma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, Just behold, Parth, all the Kurus assembled here. 26. There Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father-in-law and well-wishers. 27. When the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus.
You want to say something, Mataji?
So now Arjuna wants to see the opposite side of the party, and then Krishna took the chariot in middle of the army, both the armies, and at that time Arjuna saw his grandfathers, teachers, all the relatives and brothers, and he was very compassionate after seeing all these relatives.
Yeah. So Bhagavati Prabhu's question, that why is he infallible, the Achyuta. So in verse number 21, so Arjuna calls Krishna as Achyuta. Yeah, in third line, Arjuna vacha senyorubhyor madhye ratham sthapya me Achyuta. So Arjuna uses the word Achyuta. So Krishna has become the chariot driver of Arjuna, right? So, and Arjuna knows how and why he became the chariot driver of Arjuna, because Krishna never fails in his affection for his devotees. And that is the word Achyuta, infallible. So in this chapter, if we see, there are many different names of Krishna are used by Arjuna. Madhava is used, and we see that later he will say Madhusudana. So Rishikesha, that those are the different names of Krishna are used. So reason being, all these names of Krishna has some meaning. Like, for example, Madhusudan means who is the killer of demon Madhu. So Arjuna uses the name Madhusudan because he wants the demon of his heart killed by the killer of demon Madhu, Arjuna, Krishna. So same way here, infallible is used because Krishna never fails in his affection for his devotee, and that is why this name Achyuta or infallible is used. And also in that purport, Srila Prabhupada describes that even though Krishna became the chariot driver, but he still remains the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not that just by becoming chariot driver he will lose his being the Supreme Lord. He will always be Supreme Lord, even though he becomes a chariot driver of Arjuna or anybody. And also he takes the chariot in between the in the army of in between he takes the chariot in front of those whom Arjuna is most attached to, Drona, and like in verse number 25, in the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold, Parth, all the Kurus assembled here. So basically, he brought the chariot in such a way that so that all the attachment that Arjuna has come out. So, and then also um, he smiles also, right? Arjuna, he could see that all his relatives are there. Then Arjuna, in the verse number 27, he sees all his friends and relatives and he becomes overwhelmed with compassion and then he speaks. So now from verse number 28 to 46, in this section, Arjuna is going to give 4 reasons to, means total 5 reasons he gives, but in 28 to 46, he gives 4 reasons to not fight. So he see all his relatives and his heart just melted like butter. And even though the sons of Dhritarashtra, they want to kill the Pandavas, but he is not willing to do it because of his compassion. The 4 reasons that he gave in this chapter, and one is he's going to give in second chapter. The first reason he gives is compassion, means he is feeling too much compassion towards the body of the relatives, basically, and that is in verse number 28 to 30. And then he would say loss of enjoyment, 31 to 35, and then fear of sinful reaction, from 36 to 38, destruction of family traditions, from 37 to 43. So now we can do 28 to 35, the 2 reasons, and then we'll discuss a little bit about that. So someone wants to read from 28 to 35.
Can I just wanted to add about the previous section.
Sure. Yes, please.
So I really liked when the verse was read that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were full of fear. However, like when the conch shells sounded, however, when the conch shells of Bhishma and Devs was sounded, Pandavas did not get, they did not become fearful, which basically explains that the fear, it's an inner feeling and it doesn't depend if you have a large army or a smaller army. Most likely fear, it's the is born from the from our attachment. If you are very attached to the result, you are very fearful to get the result which you really desire. You don't want to get bad things to happen, so you become fearful because of the attachment. However, if you like Pandavas, they were trying just to please Krishna, and if they are not attached to the results, the person doesn't feel fear because he understands that he is not responsible. Like, the results will come not from his actions, but from what Krishna is going to give.
Yeah.
But Arjuna is also attached, right? So that's why he's also not able to fight.
You see, in the first 28 verses, he's not. His mood is different, and then his mood, like when he sees his relatives, his mood changes.
Yeah. And also another thing is because Krishna is on their side, so nobody is fearful if Krishna is on their side, and on Kaurava side, Krishna is not there, so they will always be fearful.
And as far as I understand, Arjuna was afraid more for his relatives that they are about to, to give up their lives, because he was more afraid for them than for his own welfare.
And there will be verses coming up where we will see that Arjuna was not attached to wealth or anything. Arjuna, as in purport also, Srila Prabhupada writes that it is the soft-heartedness of Arjuna that he didn't want to kill his relatives. He doesn't want to harm his relatives. Yeah. So Arjuna was attached, means, and again, one more thing that before we continue, is that Arjuna was put into this condition until verse number 12, until verse number 20, Arjuna's 21, when he calls Achyuta, take my chariot in front of the army. I want to see who all are ready to fight with us. So until then, Arjuna is ready to fight and he is not bewildered. But when Krishna smiles and he places him in front of his relatives, Drona, Bhishma, and all sons of Dhritarashtra, then Krishna did it purposely so that he can speak Bhagavad Gita. He bewildered Arjuna, even though Arjuna know everything. Arjuna is a pure devotee of Krishna, but he puts Arjuna in a situation so that Krishna can speak Bhagavad Gita for all of us, not only for Arjuna. Here, Arjuna is an instrument to teach us, to show us that, okay, for us, Govinda. Sorry, Deva, please. Okay, yeah. So that is.
So one more point which I wanted to bring up is just about the, we have the entire section which is called the signs of victory of Pandavas. And to me, it was interesting that there was an entire science which could interpret the signs. It was described in the Shakuni Shastra, and it was connected to the different types of karma. So, the prarabdha karma, which is about to manifest itself, and the results of which are approaching, is called bija. And there was an entire section in this Shakuni Shastra which was describing different types of signs. So anyone who knew that Shastra, he would be able to foresee the victory of Pandavas.
Okay. Yeah. So let's move on probably now let's read from 28 to 35, the first two reasons for Arjuna to not fight. Someone wants to read?
I can read more.
All right,
Okay,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Koki.
Right. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up." Text 29. My whole body is trembling. My hair is standing out on end. My bow, Gandiva, is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune, O Krishna, killer of the Kezi demon. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Mataji, I would... One more?
35.
Okay. Oh Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, father-in-laws, grandsons, brother-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties, and they're standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra?
You want to say something?
Yeah, Mataji, it's very clear from this verse that Arjuna is very nervous, he's trembling, he's not even able to hold his Gandiva, his bow. He's asking Krishna, why will I have to fight? I cannot fight. And looking at his relatives and his friends and teachers and father, grandson, everything, he's saying, how will I be happy when I kill them? Because they are the one, when I get a kingdom, and if they are not there, how will I be happy?
Yeah, so very, very important. So here Arjuna is showing attachment on the bodily platform, means I and mine, right? If mine are not available, then how am I going to enjoy? So in verse number 28, 29, and 30, he is speaking about his compassion towards the body of his relatives, means again, like Kokila Mataji was saying, attachment. Yes, he is showing, but in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada describes it as a devotee actually by nature is very soft-hearted. They don't want to harm anybody. And now what to speak of the killing his own family members, right? So that is one part. And and then he then again later in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada describes this is attachment towards the bodily conception of life. And then what happens is when we are attached, like here in 29 and 30, the symptoms, the subtle and gross bodily symptoms are described for Arjuna here. My body is trembling, my hair are standing on end, bow gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. And now he is not able to stand any longer, right? He's forgetting myself, my mind is reeling. So physical symptoms and his mental situation is also completely getting bewildered here, right? And then from 31 to 35, Arjuna is describing, oh, if I will lose everything, then there will be nothing with whom I am going to enjoy. Actually, enjoyment is like you can enjoy things not alone, but with your family member, right? So this whole section is, and in this different words, different names of Krishna he uses in verse number 32 to 35. First, he uses Govinda. So the reason for his using the word Govinda actually means who give pleasure to cows and who gives pleasure to senses. So he's sarcastically using, oh, actually, Krishna, you are Govinda, you should give pleasure to my senses. But here you are telling me to fight and kill all my family members, which will be the cause of unenjoyment for me. So then this is a sarcasm actually. But in reality, what Govinda means is because Krishna is the master of the senses, if we give pleasure to him, means if we do everything for pleasing Krishna, then we'll be pleased, because our senses are part and parcel of the senses of the Lord. And then he uses the name Madhusudana. So here also he is using Madhusudana sarcastically. Oh, you were the killer of demon Madhu, but you are asking me to kill you did not kill your teachers and friends and fathers and grandfathers. You are asking me to kill all my relatives, but you yourself were Madhusudana. Why are you asking me to kill not the demon, but my family members? Why are you doing that? And then he uses the word Janardana. I think in 35th, in that section 32 to 35, the maintainer of all living entities. Oh, Krishna, you are the maintainer of all living entities, but here you are asking me to fight. So these different names of Krishna are used in sarcasm, but we can understand one thing here, that like, whatever kind of potency we want to invoke, we can call that particular name of Krishna to invoke that particular, that particular aspect of Krishna, that particular empowerment from Krishna's name. Because Rishikesha is also going to be used, or it's already used, that means master of the senses. So Arjuna is going to say, oh, Rishikesha, I think it's in second chapter, that you are the master of the senses. I am completely forgetting myself. You do whatever you want to do. You tell me. All right. So now I think we are too slow. So let's continue the next part of the chapter, which is the next two reasons from 37 to 46. So he's going to 36 to 46, 36 to 38. He speaks about fear of sinful reaction and then destruction of family traditions. So let us go 36 to 46. Let's complete them in one shot. Someone would like to read?
I can read.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sin will, text number 36, sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune, and how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? Text 37-38. O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by grief, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why would we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? Text 39. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. Text 40. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. Text 41. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. Text 42. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Text 43. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. Text 44. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. Text 45. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. Text 46. Sanjana said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief.
Very good. You want to say something?
I'm thinking all this really relates mostly to like all of us too, how we are very attached and committed to our worldly attachments, like family mostly. And I'm very looking forward to Krishna's advice to Arjuna, because this is like one of the things that really all of us go through in our life, material life.
Yeah, so very, very rightly said, Mataji. Actually, this is not Arjuna's condition, this is ours, and Krishna is putting Arjuna in this situation and addressing all of us, actually. So, and in next chapter number 2, we will see how Arjuna is going to defeat all his arguments to not fight. So here, in these verses, we see that Arjuna is speaking about fear of sinful reaction. That, oh, so many killings, so much papam I will have, that you are the maintainer of living entity. 37, 38, he is using, O Janardhan. Although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling. But why should we know that this is crime? Destroying the family is not good, so we shouldn't do it. So he is sarcastically again, oh, you are Janardana and you are asking me to kill all my family members again, right? Here again he used the word Janardhan. So then after that, from 39 to 43, Arjuna is speaking about, okay, if all the elders are going to be killed, then nobody is going to follow family tradition, right? And if family traditions are gone, then the whole family will become irreligious completely. And then what happens when there is no protection of women? They will become, like adulterated, kind of polluted, and they will mix up with different caste men, and there will be a progeny which will be like, confused completely. Like last time I gave the example of if a Sikh lady marries a different religion person, then what happens is when the child is born, they are completely confused. The mother will want him to follow him or her to follow her religion, and the father wants him or her to follow his religion, right? So there are quarrel. We see even now such children where the parents follow two different religions, then what happens to them? It's very difficult, right? So that is what he is saying. And then when the progeny will be completely messed up, then they are not going to follow any family traditions, and they are going to completely actually because generally what happens is when ancestors are like stuck somewhere because of their karmas, then the descendants, if they offer the sharadhas properly, then they get delivered. But if the progeny is completely adulterated, then what happens? They are not going to do all that, and then even the ancestors, they go to hell. They will glide down instead of getting upgraded, kind of, meaning released from their sinful reactions, right? And then what happens is, then when the family members won't do that, they will actually, all community project, everything is going to be devastated completely, and there will be a complete fall down of everything, right? And then
that is what is happening actually, right, Mataji?
Yeah, that is what is happening. We see it, right? So this Bhagavad Gita is not just information, but it is for our application. And there are so many applications here, like we discussed, right? And then he is saying that, okay, I have heard, Arjuna is saying, I am not making it up from my own mind, but this is what I have heard from indisciplic succession, Krishna. It's not that I am making it up, right? And then he just, doesn't want to commit sinful activities. It won't be happiness. I can't enjoy. And then in verse number 45, we see that Arjuna is not attached to wealth or kingdom or anything, right? So he is not attached. And then this means that he is ready to get some spiritual guidance from Krishna, because these are the signs of Arjuna that making him, ready for taking spiritual guidance from Krishna. This verse 45. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. So he doesn't want anything, basically. He doesn't desire anything. He doesn't, at the cost of killing his family members. And then finally what happens is the Gandiva bow, which never falls down, it slips off Arjuna, and he's in such a he's so much overwhelmed with grief, actually. So that is what is going on. So in this section 28 to 46, we saw that Arjuna is identifying on the bodily conception of life. His attachment to body is actually disabling him from executing his religious duty, because he is a Kshatriya. He is supposed to execute the duty of a Kshatriya. But because of his attachment, he is saying, I can't do it, Krishna. And also, that is Krishna's will. Our duty is to follow Krishna's will, which is, he wants Arjuna to fight. But because Arjuna is showing his attachment to the body of his relatives, he is not able to execute that duty which Krishna is also wanting him to, right? And also, we see that when Arjuna is bewildered, it is actually, he is seeing in terms of I and mine. He is not thinking about Krishna's interest, right? So that is what happens when we get bewildered. So, and then what happens is, when we are in that kind of bewildered state where I see I and mine, then actually this vision of fear, loss of composure, and indecision and confusion of moral codes, that all that thing comes up. And that is what we saw in Arjuna happening in these verses. His his hands are quivering, and his body hair are standing on end, and his Gandiva bow is slipping, and he's forgetting himself, like that. All that thing is happening because of fear which is arising from his bodily conception of life when he is seeing I and mine and not Krishna's interest. So this is the greatest danger for all of us, that if we don't see Krishna's interest and if we see I and mine, then whatever is happening to Arjuna, that is what happens to us. All right, dear devotees, we could do only one chapter and it's already 8:28. So if somebody has some discussion, please.
I just have one word. So this chapter ends with the scene where Arjuna, his bow slips down and he's sitting down, overcome with the grief. So sometimes, in our lives, it also happens that we think why Krishna brings all these situations that bring us with grief. But we should also think that if Arjuna wasn't in the situation, Bhagavad Gita would be not spoken. So even in our situation, we should think how can we use the situation, to become more noble and more devoted.
Yes, and that is why one of our acharyas, let me tell you he gives this chapter a name, Vishad Yoga. I think it is Baldev Vidyabhushan who gives the title to this chapter, Vishad Yoga, because when we are in grief, then actually it is yoga through distress, basically, like quest for yoga through distress. And we will see in the next chapter how this grief and this distress brought Arjuna to take shelter of Krishna as his spiritual master. Meaning, the distress conditions, situation in our life, we should use it for our spiritual growth and like to move in the spiritual journey, basically. And like we say, oh, such bad things are happening, but generally whenever any distress come in our life, that we can use it to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. When we have Arjuna as the example, we will see in second chapter next week how he surrenders to Krishna, he accepts Krishna as his spiritual master. So any distressful conditions should bring us closer to Krishna. That is the essence. And Arjuna is showing us that. All right, dear devotees, somebody, I know it's 8:30 already, but for a few minutes we can, if somebody has some. So Hemang Prabhu, does it make any sense for you, whatever we discussed? And who else? Koti Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. So anything anybody would like to share, maybe not question, but what is it that you would like to take from this discussion today and try to apply in your lives? Maybe few of you can participate or contribute to that.
No, we'll see even later on. But Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhu.
Important thing is, like you had mentioned, we need to take shelter of Krishna, because on our own we'll be more confused and we won't get solutions. Like if we take shelter of Krishna, then we shall get guidance from Krishna through the super song.
Yes. What else? Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Okay, so I have one exercise for everyone. So let us read the whole chapter, all of us, and take out all the names of Krishna that are used in this chapter. And very, very important, that Bhaktavatsala quality. Yeah, Shamla Mataji.
I wanted to thank the Prabhuji, because I felt like when he summarized it, I was kind of trying to figure it out, but he summarized what was going on in my head. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
I have another question. Do you want to have an exam like after the 6 chapters?
Yeah.
Or we just go on to the second one, to the 7th chapter? If we want to have an exam, I can make questions and submit them for Kasturi Mataji's review.
Yeah, so should we do the like a quiz kind of like maybe we can do Kahoot probably if somebody all of you are interested after chapters we can do a Kahoot which is like the quiz questions Gayatri Mataji.
What is the quiz questions, like
It's
ABC?
like I don't know, like yeah, or instead of that, what we can do, we can just ask questions and anybody can answer that, right? We can do that way. I think that way will be
think
better.
it's better if we she can make the quiz and she asks the question and then one of us, whoever wants to answer, can answer. It's like an interactive discussion.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we can do that. Let us know who all are interested in that.
Yes, Mataji, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let us. Okay. Another thing. Note questions, but take away from the application points here. So first of all, we need to. First was that. Like Dhritarashtra means holding on to attachment. So we can try to write down what are my attachments and which one I want to work on. That we can do. And we can do the diplomatic attitude that we may have like Duryodhan, right? And different names of Krishna and the very, very endearing quality.
Mataji, attachment. How many attachment we have? The page is not enough.
Oh, no, don't have to do that. Means like, at least the top, the most which are holding us, like, those we can write and try to see if we can work on at least one. Right. And this Bhaktavatsala quality of Krishna. So meaning many times we go through so much distressful conditions, then we can remember that Krishna, he became the chariot driver of Arjuna. Right. If I can devote my life to him, then I don't have any problem in life. Right. Everything will be taken care of. Right. That, and we saw that now the last part we already discussed that how when we are not looking at the interest of Krishna, but we are looking at I and mine, then what happens to Arjuna is happening with us all, right? Let us try to bring Krishna's interest in the center, not our interest in the center. Because if we actually work towards interest of Krishna, fulfilling the will of Krishna. And what is the will of Krishna? He wants us to be happy. He wants us to come back to him. He doesn't need anything from us, but he just doesn't like a loving parent. They don't like the suffering of his children. The same way Krishna doesn't like us to suffer in this material world. He wants us to come back to him. And the process is he is giving in Bhagavad Gita. Right? So that is what we can try to center our, lives around Krishna. We can remember Krishna driving the chariot of Arjuna and see what he is the Supreme Lord. And he is doing that. And we always whine and complain doing small things. All right, dear devotees. So it's a lot for today. If somebody has something to say, please quickly say, and then we will end. Thank you all very much for joining. And Hemang Prabhu, if you can tell us if this was fine for you or it was too fast or something, because you are the one who joined first time today. Yeah, Hare Krishna. I don't know what's that. We cannot hear you, Prabhu, if you are speaking. Hemang Prabhu.
Probably muted or something.
I don't know. No, he's not muted, but I think the sound thing, something is wrong. It's okay. We can talk to him separately, maybe. Thank you, dear devotees, very, very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Mataji, I have a quick question, Mataji. I'm so sorry.
Yes. Yes.
You said we have a homework to read all the Krishna's name in the chapter 1.
Yeah, if you can, if possible, just go, because we didn't read the purports of Srila Prabhupada. So you have the whole week. So how many pages does somebody have book open? How many pages total we have in the first chapter?
Let's see.
So it's total 46 verses. So if we read 20 minutes a day, we can complete the whole chapter with purports.
Okay. Okay.
We have about 37 pages. 37
Yeah, so
pages.
37 pages in 7 days, 5 or 6 pages if we read every day. So then we can complete the chapter.
Okay,
So
Mataji.
you will see how Srila Prabhupada, what he has written. It will be very, very nice to read.
To understand and read. Thanks,
Yeah.
Mataji. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Thank
and I
you,
think all
Mataji.
of us can read, and that will not take more than 20 minutes a day. So if somebody does not have 20 minutes at the same stretch, you can divide 5 minutes 4 times a day, read one verse at a time, 4 times in a day. All right. Thank you. Oh, Hemang Prabhu. Thank you. This was good. Okay. Thank you,
Thank
Prabhu.
you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Gita Mataji and Hema Mataji and everybody. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Hemang Prabhu said his mic wasn't working. So
Yeah, that's what I see. Like, yeah, maybe it's okay next time.
next time, yes.
Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
And thank